Hi.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning. Yeah, I guess we can call it the good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm slightly concerned about you and how this recording is going to go though, because we had our obligatory pre-recording chat where you disclosed to me that you've run out of Mountain Dew.
I've run out of Diet Mountain Dew, and it's a sin in this household.
Quite honestly, I don't know how you let it get that far. That's like running out of tea in this house. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, it
It
doesn't
should never
happen.
happen.
If it does, there's somebody who's accountable and they need to answer for
Right?
it.
And let me tell you, in this household, that ain't me.
Yeah, it's not me either. Because I was gonna buy some at the store the other day, and Josh said that we had some, and I would like to know where it is if we do.
I mean, I think that's probably grounds for divorce.
It could be. I think the judge would be on my side.
100%. 100%. And, you've got Mel waiting in the wings for you, so
I do.
no great
Merle.
loss.
My love for her has only grown over the last couple weeks.
Oh, where you've been binge watching Greenleaf.
Yes. If nobody has seen Greenleaf, go on Netflix and watch Greenleaf because Merle is just phenomenal.
I'm going to give it a go. It's on my watch list now.
Yeah, I've had a couple people message me and be like, I'm on season 2. I've been binge watching it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I can't help it that she's just that good that it makes you want to keep binge watching it. That's not my fault.
No, I believe it. I believe it. I'm definitely going to give it a go.
It just, it kind of bothers me because, she's good on Station 19. Obviously, she is because I fell in love with her on Station 19. But her acting in Greenleaf it's such on a higher level of acting
Yeah.
that it just makes me wish like they would utilize her skill a little bit more on Station 19
Yeah.
because she has so much more talent than what we've seen on Station 19. That's all I'm going to say.
And she got some pretty good stuff in Station 19, I think. So if you're saying
She
that
did.
that's not her at her best, then we've only got good stuff to come, really.
Yeah, exactly. They need to give her some more good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
definitely on my watch list.
Good. You'll have to let me know. You'll be messaging me, yelling at me too.
But it's like we were saying last week or it might have been the week before, when you were saying we were talking about who the best actors are on Station 19, and we kind of said, didn't we, that there are certain actors who probably haven't had a chance to shine the way that Danielle, Stefania, and maybe Barrett have had a chance to shine just because of the material that they've been given.
Hmm. Hmm.
So Merle is, I guess, one of those people that, if given the right material, could blow the whole thing apart.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think they need to do something surrounding her or give her some kind of, I don't know, some kind of scene to highlight her skill because it kind of makes me sad. Like I wonder if I don't know, like I'm sure when you're an actor, you like being pushed. Like Danielle always says she likes being challenged, she likes being pushed, she likes being,
Yes.
you know, like, did I meet the mark? Did I do what I was supposed to do? And going from a role like Greenleaf, or even, she's in The Last of Us as well, which I have not seen yet. That's on my next list to watch.
I can't watch that because zombies and scariness.
Yeah, but they're on such different levels of Station 19 that I wonder if she wishes that they would push her herself. Like, does she wonder or does she hope that they would push her or give her different material on the show? Or if she's happy with where she's at. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's a bit of both. I mean, I guess it's such an unstable environment to be in that she's probably happy for the work.
Yeah.
Um, but equally, I guess once you're there and you're established, then you want to be able to prove yourself and show that you are going to be an asset.
Yeah.
And so to do that, it's important that you can show your chops.
And I mean, the writers and the directors, they have to know her talent. They have to have seen her talent, right?
Yeah. And I believe, was she, you didn't watch her Instagram live with Danielle, no? Didn't
No,
watch
I
that yet.
didn't.
You
No.
should give it a watch when you've got an hour and a half or so to spare. It went long, but it is really, really good. And she said that she didn't actually audition for the show. She just got a call and they asked her
For a
to,
station?
yeah, they just asked her to come and be on. And she thinks that Krista Vernoff just asked for her. And she said she can't be sure, but she thinks it was Krista Vernoff that suggested her for the show. But there was no audition process or anything. They were just like, here's Tasha Ross, do you want her, kind of thing. So if someone is just literally requested, there's no interview process or anything, like clearly they know her worth.
Yeah.
Someone has seen her in something and said, that's the girl for us.
Yeah, for sure. No, that I didn't know that. So, of
Yeah,
course.
she also knows Tracy Toms
Oh, okay.
from theatre.
Oh, yeah, I believe it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were in Rent. They crossed over. I think she
Mm.
had to go off and do something else, and Tracy Toms came in and took her role in Rent, and she
Okay.
spent 3 weeks like teaching Tracy Toms the part.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, another little like crossover.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I'm excited to see Greenleaf because you've given it such rave reviews.
Yeah. And I think some of my reviews are because of my trauma and my past and my history.
Yeah,
But the acting alone is just phew, like mind blowing.
I'm there for it.
When as soon as I'm watching it, I'm gonna be like, "Have you got to this episode yet? Have you got to this scene yet? Have you got to this scene yet?" To have somebody to talk to about it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get stuck in for sure.
Um, should we talk about some of our fan engagements?
Yeah, we got an absolute corker of an email from one of my fellow UK peeps, didn't we?
We did. Lee, they are from the UK, and I really liked what they had to say about you. They loved the insight of the portrayal of the women love women in the media, because they first started watching Station 19 when they first came out in an attempt to educate themselves on those kind of relationships and to convince themselves that the future they wanted was possible.
Oh,
They identify as Maya, as the type of person they are as Maya,
yeah,
especially comforting the inner child, which I think that scene touched so many of us,
yeah,
especially.
yeah.
And they, of course, they love Maya and Karina, which I think we all love Maya and Karina.
They're all right.
Um, right, they're okay. Their favorite scene was between Vic and Beckett in 617, which I don't think that scene gets enough credit, honestly.
No,
Um, that was a very powerful scene.
hell
Um,
yeah.
and they kind of shared some personal things that I'm not going to talk about. They also loved down the breakdown how we do in the episodes in blocks. They listen to a lot of
Yeah,
podcasts, and they found that Melissa's blocks and structures is the easiest to follow and to listen to. So good job, Melissa.
thank you.
Um, and they had an interesting idea for the hiatus, which I'm happy that people are actually listening to our requests for hiatus ideas, because we
Yes,
do take
keep
them
them
into
coming.
consideration.
We do.
Yes. They said that an idea that would be interesting is to look into the songs of the show. They often listen to as heard on Station 19 on Spotify when they want to be productive. And it'll be interesting to hear what we think of that. And also, where did the podcast intro music come from? I know Melissa is a musician, so did Melissa write the intro music? And then they said, thank you again for creating such a funny, comforting podcast that I have no idea helps so many, many people, including me. So thank you so much, Lee, for the
Ah,
message.
Lee, thank
Um,
you.
yeah. And I will let Melissa answer the intro music question.
That is not me. I I am a musician, and the missus is a musician, but the missus is a classical. Well, actually, we both do kind of singer songwritery kind of stuff, and the missus is now a classical composer. But I wish I'd done the intro music because it's very cool. It's very rock and roll, but that's got nothing to do with me, unfortunately. I'm very kind of sit with an acoustic guitar and let my heart bleed and depress everybody. It wouldn't be very uplifting if I did the theme tune to this podcast.
So not our exciting.
No, it wouldn't be like, which is what, it should be. You probably see them behind me when I've got the kitchen door open. We've got about
Yeah.
6 or 7 electric guitars hung up along our hallway
Yeah. Yeah, for
because
sure.
I used to be a little bit more rock and roll than I am today, but I got old and boring. I don't know what to tell you. But no, I didn't do that. But I love the idea of looking at the music. I wonder how we could structure that because I've just, oh God, in preparation for this episode, I've just binge watched 60 hours. 60 hours ish of Station 19. I binge watched season 2 through season 6 in preparation for the episode we're doing now. And the music, I think, because I had earphones on a lot of the time, and I know that sounds silly, but because I'm closer to the sound, it's not just in my room, it's kind of going directly into my ears. I actually noticed the music a lot more.
Hmm.
And when I was doing do you remember I told you that I basically cried most of the way through season 2, episode 1?
Yes.
One of the points at which I burst into tears was when a piece of music kicked in, and it was a band that I'd never heard of, and I thought, oh, I'm going to remember their name, and now I've bloody forgotten again. But let me find them quick. Here we go. Steel Feather. They're called Steel Feather, and
Okay.
it's when Dean and Vic carry Travis out of the building, and this song starts up, Something in the Air, it's called.
Hmm.
And this girl's got like a really haunting voice. It's kind of Lana Del Rey-ish, her
Okay.
voice. It's really haunting. And I was just like, ugh! It just hit me. And I just started gushing. And they've actually used Steel Feather a few times. And I just think that the music that they choose has such a massive effect on the scenes. And I noticed that
Yeah.
for me anyway, I think the music choice improved as the seasons went on. And they actually used an artist that I was super familiar with for the episode where Andy is assaulted. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to annoy me now because I can only remember his first name. It's Ben. Oh no, what's his name? Ben. Oh, the song's called Black Fly. Ben Howard.
Okay.
Um, the music choice has such a dramatic effect on the scene, doesn't it? And like can really kind of change the mood and affect how you feel.
Yeah, it does. Like before we started recording, I was watching the episode where the storage fire where Pruitt falls in the roof,
Oh
and
yeah.
just the scene where they're going back and forth between the team losing oxygen and him going on the roof, that song playing, it just
Yes.
really brought your emotions into that scene. So I could definitely, it's a really good idea to look into the music and how it affects the episodes and how we feel and things like that. So yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a really good idea. So if we can figure out how to format it, and if anyone's got any ideas of how you would want us to discuss it, if there are any songs that mean a lot to you that have come from the show, anything like that, just drop us a line because we're always
Yeah,
interested in things like that.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
and I've got to shout out a UK artist as well
Oh,
that did the
okay.
music for season 5, your favorite season.
Yeah, you're cute.
Episode 17, they sang over the scene where Maya comes home from work and goes over to Karina, who's asleep in bed, and like wakes her up with a little kiss. You know the
Oh
one?
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep. I know the one. Vaguely.
I actually was so taken by that song that I went and grabbed my guitar up and worked it out straight away
Oh,
because it's such a gorgeous song. They're from Bristol. They're from Brizzle, and they are called Kia.
okay.
So give them a listen. Kia. And it's spelled Keir. And that song's called Leave a Light On. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because they're an independent band
Yeah, cool.
and we should
Awesome.
promote independent artists.
Yeah, for sure.
What's next on the agenda, boss?
Um, we had another email from Angie, which I won't go into too much detail, but Angie's been our number one supporter from like day one. So thank you,
Yeah,
Angie, for the email. We do read them. I promise we'll get back to them.
we will,
Um,
Angie.
but thank you, Angie. We do appreciate your emails so much and your support as always.
Yeah,
Um,
unwavering.
and then I met Carla. She's from Luxembourg. She was in LA for like 2 weeks.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and she made me cry talking to me about our podcast and how much it means to her and helps her. And um, she's a huge fan of yours. So I told her I told her I would get you to give her a shout out because she absolutely just loves you. Um,
Hi, Carla. Thanks.
yeah, and so
It's nice to know there's someone that loves me in this world who's not my mother. So thank you.
and so she just had so many wonderful things to say. She told me she's on her sixth or seventh time listening through our episodes.
Oh
Um,
my word.
yeah, and that we're funny and that we're just entertaining to listen to. And so that really meant a lot to me. And I wanted to share that with you. So um, it brought me to tears when she told me. And I thought it just makes it all worth it in the end, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, well, thanks, Tiffany,
So,
for sharing that with me. And thank you, Carla. My word.
yeah,
We're so lucky.
we are very lucky. We have
We
amazing
just,
listeners.
yeah, we just have the best people. So, yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, everyone that listens and doesn't write in. We still see you and know you're there, and we're grateful to you. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Ah, shall we?
Yeah, because I did a live earlier when I couldn't sleep.
Did you?
Yeah, telling them we're working on a surprise episode. And so many people were intrigued. So are you ready to tell them what the surprise episode is?
Well, I mean, I hope we haven't oversold this, but it's essentially we're going to dot in and around these kind of breakdowns that we do. Maybe we should do the next one in the season 2, the mid-season finale or something after that. Maybe we should dot another one in. But we're going to do a
Yeah.
series of what we're going to call Spotlight On episodes. And we thought that because I think I can speak for both of us that we hadn't really delved into Maya and Andy's friendship too much, had we?
No.
Watching it through the first time. I mean, for me, I'd always just accepted that they were friends. I just took it as read. But then when doing the breakdowns for season 1, I saw it in a completely different light. And I think we both had some serious thoughts and feelings, didn't we,
Yeah.
about their friendship, rewatching season 1 in more depth. And so we thought that it might be quite appropriate now that we've wrapped up season 1 before we go into season 2 to do a spotlight on Andy and Maya. So we're going to go through from season 1 to season 6, season by season, how their friendship kind of evolved, devolved, changed, and just pick out kind of important kind of incidents and things that happened in the course of their friendship. And then maybe we can see at the end of this episode where we think they are.
I have a feeling that with the listeners, this is going to be very much become a Team Maya versus Team Andy.
Do you
Um,
think? Do you think it's going
and
to
invert.
polarize people?
I do because I just do. That's what this is, and I don't think that's what we intended, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Uh-oh. We'll have to get T-shirts and everything. It'll be
We
like
will bumper stickers.
Brangelina and the whole Jen and Brad versus Angie and Brad all over again.
It's and well, and you know whose team is bigger. I mean, do we have to say? Um, but that's just it's what it's going to become, and we'll have to see because
Well, I don't want to cause fisticuffs.
I hope I'm not like because you're already the fan favorite. I hope I'm not going to make myself worse.
Oh my
Um,
word. I'm not the
if
fan favourite.
if I ever side with Andy on any of these things,
Look, no one here plays favourites. Luckily for me, because I wouldn't be. I'm a female Eli. I'm a little bit
you are not a female Eli at all.
Thank you for saying that. But yeah, but I don't necessarily look. I'll try my best to stick to the facts. How's that? We'll
Okay.
stick to the facts and see what see what happens. I
Yeah,
might
I
not be
don't
able
think that's
to
going to help.
completely stick to the facts, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. But I actually, funnily enough, when I said to Juliet, she was like, "Is it me, or have you been watching Station 19 for 8 hours at this point?" And I'm like, "No, I have." and and I said to her, "Why?" I said, I'm going through it season by season for this particular episode. I said, because we're focusing on Andy and Maya's friendship. And she looked at me really incredulously and she said, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, because," I said, "because it's a point of interest." And she said, "But they're not even friends. Why don't you focus on like Maya and Karina or like Vic and Travis?" And I was like, "What do you mean they're not even friends? They're best friends. They've been best friends since the academy." And
Yeah,
Julia was like, "Well, you could have fooled me," because Julia only started watching it from season 5. And so, where she'd only watched clips of season 3 and 4, very specific clips,
yeah, I can only imagine which ones those were.
starting from 305,
Yeah,
in preparation for starting season 5 with me to watch it through. Because she'd only seen it from season 5 and season 6 and hadn't seen any Maya and Andy prior to season 5, she didn't even realize that they were friends,
yeah.
let
So
alone
that's
best friends. So I think that kind of gives us even more impetus to actually look at how that's progressed from season 1 to now.
sure, sure.
So, we've never done this before, so folks might have to stick with it because we're not entirely sure. We're sort of fumbling around in the dark a bit, aren't we, with the formatting and stuff? But we're just going to dive in and see how this
We're not
turns
sure what
out.
we're doing. We know what we want to do, but we're not sure what we're doing.
No, but we'll see if it works, and if it doesn't, then we'll like polish it for next time. But stick with us because we'll just see. Let's just see where this thing goes.
Yeah, let's see how we can do it.
So, what we know, thanks to the flashback in season 2, episode 1, is that they met in the academy in 2013. So, whilst we know that the Shondaland timeline is always a bit doohinky and weird, I think we're kind of safe to say that they've been friends for like a decade now, for like 10 years, right? At this point.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we know of their time before we met them, in inverted commas, they were the only 2 women out of 28 recruits in their academy class. And they both knew each other by reputation. And whilst Maya makes a beeline for Andy, Andy kind of rejects Maya straight away and says that they don't have to be friends just because they both have vaginas.
I hate that line.
Yeah, it's not pretty. It's not a good look.
No.
And then the only other time we see them training together at the academy, they're running hoses in weighted vests, and Andy's collapsed on the floor saying she can't do it anymore. And Maya makes sure that she doesn't tap out, crouching down next to Andy and cheering her on. And we know that they started at 19 together 2 years before we meet them, in inverted commas again, in the pilot. And then when we do meet them, they're kind of introduces this dynamic duo. Does that sort of ring true
Uh-huh.
to you? They
Yeah.
seem like an unbreakable pair or like a twosome, don't they? And Maya's talking about how they're going to run 19 together. She obviously knows Andy's backstory really well because she's the one that tells Warren in the pilot that Ryan and Andy were high school sweethearts. And we know that she's Andy's go-to person because she's the only one that Andy has told about Jack. And she
Hmm.
tells Maya straight away about the proposal. And then she also goes and sits next to Maya when she's waiting for news of Pruitt in the hospital in the pilot as well. So they're kind of setting them up immediately as a pair for us. And I said, when we talked about the flashback to the academy, I said that for me, that set up for me that Andy needed Maya more than Maya needed Andy. Watching the whole thing through now, I've slightly modified my opinion on that, which we can talk about later. But I still stand by the fact that Andy very much needed Maya literally from day one at the academy. And we find out from Pruitt just before he sacrifices himself. He says to Maya that 19 were all handpicked to be a family. So do you think that he chose Maya specifically to be Andy's family in 19? Do you think that that was Maya's role for him when he was choosing family, was to be Andy's kind of big sister almost, like her protector, her cheerleader, someone who'll love and take care of Andy even when she's being a bit of a problem child? Do you think that's Maya's role? Do you think that's why Pruitt chose Maya?
I mean, he could have chose her in hoping that they would be, like sisters or best friends or because I'm sure he knew that it was easier for them to make friends with another female firefighter in the closeness that he maybe was hoping for.
Yeah, because they'd already been through the academy together, so
Yeah, yeah. So I could see that for sure.
yeah, that was just something that occurred to me when I saw that and he said, "Oh, I chose you all to be family." And I thought, "Oh, that would be
Yeah, because we
possibly
don't see that
why."
with Vic and Andy. I mean, we see Vic, Andy, and Maya as being friends, but not nearly what we see Maya and Andy being as friends.
Yeah, because they have come up through the academy together and they start at 19 at
Right,
the same time. So I wonder if that's why
right,
he kind of dragged Maya in as well, because she'd obviously
right.
stuck by Andy during the academy. And we see a lot of people's backstories in season 3. We see
Uh huh.
why he chose Dean. We see why
Yep,
he chose Vic. We see those things. But
yep.
he recruited Maya straight out of the academy, not off the street, as it were.
Yeah. So we
So,
never see what pinpoint why he chose Maya.
no. So I wondered if
Right.
that might be it.
That's a good point. I've never thought about that before. That we see the backstory of how he picked, kind of each of them, except certain, like we don't see why he picked Travis. We don't see why he picked. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, so those were my thoughts about why Pruitt may have selected Maya.
To be Andy's friend.
Yeah, just to literally be there for Andy is to be support for Andy. Shall we start on season 1? Shall we have a look at them in season 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we kind of discovered, didn't we, whilst breaking down the episodes, that throughout season 1, Maya is kind of Andy's constant cheerleader.
Yes, her coach and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and she even literally raises a toast to Andy on the porch in episode 3, doesn't she?
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
remember? I think Andy raises a toast to Frankel and Vic raises a toast to vodka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maya's toast is to Andy. But oddly enough, episode 3 is the same episode where we see maybe the first crack appear in their friendship, because that's when Andy snaps at Maya about the captain's race, saying it's her race to run, not Maya's.
Yeah.
And then in episode 4, we see Andy rekindle her affair with Jack and then make efforts to actively keep Maya from finding out about it. And that's the first time that we see Maya need something from Andy as well, because that's when Mason turns up and he's been using and stealing. But Andy's too wrapped up in Jack to notice that Maya needs her. And it's actually Ryan who steps up and is the friend that Maya needs. And I think another important episode for them was the one where they were at the stakeout and they were in the aid car.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that
Yeah,
big
that one
row,
was,
don't they?
yeah. Yeah, where Maya had to run on her head.
Yeah. Um, and Maya says to Andy that she doesn't feel like she can talk to her. And Andy's response is to ask if they would even be friends if they didn't work together.
Yeah, what another, not another, not a fan of that line either.
No,
Andy's just being a fan of not good lines for me right now.
no. And I think that there are quite a few times when Andy doesn't cover herself in glory in her friendship to Maya. And in fact, I think the only time, certainly the first time, and in fact, I think it is the first and last time that we see Andy actually show any interest in Maya's life and Maya's feelings is in episode 7 in series 1, which is the vaccine drive episode. And
Mm-hmm.
on the way to the homeless camp, Andy asks Maya how she's doing and how she feels about potentially seeing Mason. But other than
Yeah.
that, I don't think in season 1 there's any point at which Andy says to Maya, "How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on in your life?" Like, that's
Yeah,
literally it,
she's not a
episode
not a good
7.
friend. Yeah.
And then in episode 9, when Maya tells Andy that Ripley told her she's captain material, and then Maya later jokes about giving Andy a run for her money when she makes lieutenant, on both those occasions, we see Andy's utter annoyance at the thought of Maya being promoted. But again, conversely, we see this pattern of behavior from Maya where she wants to concentrate on Andy. So
Mm-hmm.
when Ripley says, I'm captain material, she straight away says, but let's concentrate on making you captain first. And in the Hotbox episode, even though Andy kind of dismissed the whole kind of, oh, I'm going to give you a run for money when I'm lieutenant thing and changed the
Yeah.
subject, and still hasn't really congratulated her or anything, really. It's Maya that crawls over to Andy when they're all sweating out on the floor and gives Andy the emotional strength to kind of find a way out of their predicament. And it's Maya then who literally puts her life on the line for Andy, and she puts her body in between Andy and that projectile that's going to come flying off the water tank.
Yep.
So, I mean, was there anything in season 1 that you particularly recall that I've missed?
No, I just remember messaging you like, just watch season one, episode one. Love the relationship between Maya and Andy, and you were like, yeah, about that.
Yeah, that's
Just like
right, I did.
the support about when they were running, when she was running, and they were talking,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
I just absolutely loved that, and you were like, yeah, okay, um, and
Yeah,
it was
keep
just
going.
yeah, it was just sad to see it end so not end, but hit turbulence so quickly. That's all. I wish we could
Yeah.
have seen it, a little bit more positive, a little bit longer.
But I mean, have I characterized it unfairly?
No, not at all. You said you were going to state the facts, and I think that's what you've done.
Because it just seems like, although it's a partnership, it's a very one-sided one in season
Yeah,
1,
it's very much Maya being Team Andy, and that's it,
and Andy being Team Andy.
and Andy being Team Andy. Yeah,
Because she didn't notice that Maya was struggling with Mason despite their
right.
5-year friendship. It was Ryan, who hardly knows Maya, who picked up that something was wrong and that provided sort of a leaning post for Maya in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, as well, I hadn't really paid attention to their journey, but they both came up the same way. They both were at the academy at the exact same time. They both graduated at the exact same time. They both started 19 together at the same time. So why is
Yeah.
Andy aggravated that Maya's been plucked for promotion? It's not like Maya's jumped over her. They literally
May-
have mirrored, their careers have mirrored each other. Started the academy on the same day, graduated the same day, started 19 on the same day, presumably.
Maybe it's because Andy only got it because she went to her dad and basically asked for it.
Someone's been in my notes again. Someone's been in my notes again. That's, that's
I mean,
exactly.
isn't that how it happened?
Yeah. But I'm glad that you said it, not me.
Why? Because I'm previously, well, I still love Andy, but previously hardcore team Andy.
Yeah, so it doesn't, because obviously Maya's my girl. Love Maya.
I yeah, I know.
So I don't want to seem like I was playing favourites with it, but that is basically what happened, isn't it? And so I wondered if there was an argument for saying that Andy was annoyed because really she knows that her promotion was born out of nepotism, whereas Maya's was based on merit.
Right. Well, and it came from the chief who Andy's been trying to impress and been failing at miserably.
Yeah, Maya's been complimented by her boss's boss's boss,
Right.
and Andy's just been handed something on a plate by her dad because she asked him for it. So yeah, there's inequity about how it came about. But it's such a shame because in the pilot, they were leaning against the engine, weren't they? And talking about how they were going to run 19 together. So
Right.
Andy's going for captain. Maya's now sort of been plucked from obscurity by Ripley saying, you should definitely go for lieutenant because you could be a captain one day. So, from my perspective, if I was Andy, I'd be like, mate, this is amazing. We've always dreamed of running 19 together. I'm going to be captain. You're going to be lieutenant. It's coming true. But instead,
Right.
she's just annoyed that Maya's doing well. So, we agree then that Andy is a wee bit selfish in season one when it comes to her relationship with Maya.
Oh yeah, definitely selfish with the relationship with Maya. She's one track minded, I would say.
Yeah. And do you think that it's always been that way? Do you think that for Andy that's just the status quo?
Um, it's so hard to say because we don't see much of their relationship before this all happens.
We
Um,
don't.
so I don't know if it's something that she finds or develops when it becomes when the captaincy becomes something that's available to her, because she doesn't become a very good friend to Jack either when the captaincy opens up. So it's not
No.
just Maya that she's becoming selfish with. So maybe when it comes to things that she wants, she becomes selfish,
Yeah.
which could be anything in a friendship, right?
Yeah, it could. Because the only thing that gave me pause to wonder if that's kind of Andy's like modus operandi, and that when we meet them, Maya's just kind of getting a little bit sick of it and is
Mm-hmm.
starting to bite back, is when they're in that aid car on the stakeout and Maya kind of begrudgingly says, oh, well, what's going on with you then? Or words to that effect. And Maya says, let's get me out of the way so we can circle back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me feel like this is a ride that Maya's been on several times before.
Well, and we hear later on Maya say, I believe, and this might be in your notes for later on, but that it always has to be about Andy. Like
Yeah, I think she probably has said that. Yeah,
even when Maya goes to Andy about a problem, Andy has to make the solution or the answer about something that's going on with her.
Yeah, and later on in my notes, there's a thing where Maya goes to, and I can't remember what it's about, but because I've watched 60 hours of it. But Maya goes to find Andy in the shower to ask Andy something. And as soon as she goes in there and starts talking, Andy just immediately jumps on the conversation and turns it around and starts talking about her issue.
Exactly.
And I think then Maya calls her out and says, actually, I was coming to find you.
Right.
And we see early on in season 2 that Maya says, no, it had to be you.
Yep.
It's about something different, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. And I hadn't developed it any further than that line. But yeah, actually, you're right. It does seem later on that Maya compacts that statement.
Yeah. It is said several times.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only other thing that I realised that I left out that I think is probably quite relevant is that Maya lets Andy off the hook really easily during the whole Mason incident, because when Andy says, oh, why didn't you tell me what was going on? Maya says, oh, I didn't want to say it out loud. But in truth, Maya did want to say it out loud and she wanted to talk to Andy about it, but she went looking for her. But instead, she found Jack's shirt outside of Andy's bunk. So when Maya needs Andy and goes to look for her and instead finds Jack's shirt, when Andy says, why didn't you tell me? Be honest, Maya. Just say, because you were too busy playing Scrabble with Jack.
Yeah, I would have. I would have been like, because what were you doing in there with Jack?
Exactly. But she doesn't. She just covers and says, oh, I didn't want to say it out loud. Not the case.
Yep.
She wanted a best friend, and her best friend wasn't there for her.
Yep. Maya's a different Maya.
Yeah. But that's why I think that maybe when we meet Maya, it's at a turning point in her and Andy's relationship. And I wonder if she's just kind of getting to the point where she's like, you know what, this is getting on my last nerve. I need to center myself a little bit. Like, how long can I let someone else kind of push me aside? And
Right.
yeah, which would be fair enough, right?
Yeah, I agree. And she needs to get to that point because she deserves more than that. So,
Yes, it deserves to be an equal partnership.
right.
So, shall we catch up with them in season 2, or is there anything else you want to say about season 1?
No, let's hit season 2.
Okay. So, season 2 opens with Maya literally running after Andy again, because Andy's going after Jack in the skyscraper fire. And so Maya's following her. And then when Sullivan is due to arrive for his introduction to 19 at the end of that episode, Andy's alone on the roof. And it's Maya again who goes up to Andy and hooks her down and has her come and join the group. So
Yep.
we pick up with this same dynamic that Maya's always the one that's having to kind of go to Andy and try and help Andy out. And then in episode 2, she pep talks Andy into moving out of her father's house and just casually says that Andy should tell Pruitt that she's moving in with her. So again, no question for Maya. It's just, Andy, you need to move out. You need to start your own life. Move into my place. It's just a given for Maya.
Right.
But then again, we see that this isn't necessarily reciprocated, because when Sullivan wants Maya to take point on truck and to be the one that harnesses up at the incident to go down and rescue the kid in the drain, Andy immediately jumps in to offer herself up and take point on engine, and then says, oh, and I'll harness up as well. And then she's like super unhappy when she's asked to just drive. And when there's a problem with Maya's equipment, Andy seizes the opportunity to, literally jump into Maya's place, because she leaps into the sewer with no safety equipment, nothing, and just can't let Maya have her moment to shine. And when they talk about it, Andy says, well, I needed to try. And Maya actually speaks up and says, no, You needed to step aside and let me try. So we actually get Maya speaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I wonder if this is Andy just being kind of generally oblivious because she's used to the pattern where she can just do what she wants and she's forgiven, kind of thing. Because back at the station, she's oblivious to what she's done and she just wants to talk to Maya about her boy troubles again. But Maya doesn't let it go, doesn't let her get away with it, and points out that on the call, Andy made everything worse. And Andy tries to justify it and says, yeah, but I could hear his voice. And Maya says, yeah, but you could hear mine and everybody else's as well. But you couldn't let me do what needed to be done. And then I think this is what you were talking about, because Maya says to Andy, it had to be you.
Yeah.
Is that the line you were thinking of?
Yeah, and there's a couple more later on where she says you always have to make it about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't pinpoint what episodes they were, but I know it is
No.
said more than one time.
Yeah. And the truths keep coming for Andy, because in episode 3, when she's slating Sullivan and says that he's got it in for her, or except I think you say he's got it out for her. I think we reverse those. We say he's got it in for me and you say he's got it out for me, don't you?
Probably.
Yeah. Um, but she's saying that Sullivan's got it in for her. And Maya says, well, that's because you keep doing things to piss him off. and and if you want Sullivan's attitude to change, then your attitude needs to change. So I
Yeah.
kind of like that Maya's getting a little bit feisty and not letting Andy get away with her crap.
Yeah, I agree.
Then, still in that episode, at the incident, Andy isn't happy when she and Sullivan have differing opinions on how to handle the rescue of the hoarder. That's the hoarder episode. And Sullivan asks for Maya's opinion, and Maya disagrees with Andy's approach, but Sullivan implements Maya's plan. And then Maya calls Andy on it later and says that she could see that Andy was shocked that Sullivan had actually asked for and had taken her advice on the call. And it's that then kind of gives Maya the nudge she needs to go to Sullivan's office and tell him that she intends to apply for lieutenant as per his and Ripley's urging.
Uh-huh.
Then Andy's annoyance continues when Sullivan assigns Maya the incident command speciality in episode 4, when he's kind of saying this is what's going to make us elite, this is what's
Right.
going to make us stand out. So he puts Andy on recruitment, which she takes as a slight, and puts Maya on incident command. And he says that's what put him on the officer track before telling Maya to pretend that she's a lieutenant on the call that comes in. And he asks Sandy if she has any objections, and she says no, but her face completely disagrees, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the call doesn't go well for Maya, and back at the station, to me, it just seemed like Schadenfreude with Andy when they're talking about it not
Mm-hmm.
going well, and she's like sweeping up in the barn, and she seems so much, she seems kind of pleased, to be honest, to me.
Yeah, she does.
And I thought she was quite patronizing when she said, oh, don't worry, you'll get it eventually. As if she's some kind of guru instead of a best friend.
Yeah.
It was just a rough watch. I mean, she ends up complimenting Maya eventually, and she says, well, I thought you did great. But it takes her a long time to get there.
Yeah, she had to humble herself a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And do you think it was genuine? Do you think she genuinely did think that Maya did great, or do you just think she's doing what she needs to do to repair the damage?
Well, I do think she did do a good job. Um, but whether Andy thinks so or not, I think her jealousy overshadows that. So
Yeah,
it's probably more of a damage control.
I agree with you, I think. Yeah. Then in episode 5, Ripley blindsides Maya by telling her that he's looking forward to interviewing her for a lieutenant's position in the beanery in front of everybody. And Andy's reaction isn't to be excited for Maya and say, mate, legend, you're going to be a lieutenant like me, or to take her aside and give her some handy hints or, you know, a little bit of advice of how to handle the interview. Or, well, actually, that being said, she's not exactly in a position to do so, is she? Because she was gifted her lieutenant's position by
Right.
her dad from his hospital bed, so she didn't have to put in an application or have an interview.
Right.
But the whole thrust of her exchange with Maya isn't well done you. It's I can't believe you didn't tell me that you'd done that.
Yeah, it's again very self-centered, right? Very self, it's about me.
Yeah, it's about how it makes her feel.
Right.
But it's not all bad. Because when they do the training, the first aid training with PD, there is a rare show of support from Andy to Maya. Because Sullivan has a screaming fit at Maya, doesn't he, in front of everyone, saying that she's being unprofessional. And Andy backs Maya up and says that he's been singling Maya out and kicking her around all day in front of the chief when she doesn't deserve it. And she actually says Maya's one of the best people you've got, and that he has no business making it look otherwise.
Yay, a positive Andy comment.
Positive Andy comment. But then, bless Maya, she can't just leave it at that. She then uses that to springboard to an apology to Andy for not telling her that she'd applied for lieutenant.
Yeah, she couldn't just leave it alone.
No, she had to kind of then recenter Andy after that and
Yeah.
say, I'm really sorry I didn't tell you, but I just didn't want my application for lieutenant to get in between us, you know,
Yeah.
which it did anyway. And that is not the only time we see Andy step up for Maya, because she does it again in the mid-season finale, because Ripley's spending the day at 19 and she volunteers to switch duties with Maya so that Ripley can see Maya in action to bolster her chances
Mm-hmm.
of making lieutenant. But then that positivity doesn't last very long, because in episode 10, that's the one that I was mentioning with the shower, Maya goes to talk to Andy in the shower and Andy ends up venting about Ryan and her dad, even after Maya says to her, I actually came to look for you, I need to talk to you. But then, to be fair, Andy does redeem herself when she sees the news coverage of the bird flu thing. She's watching the TV and she sees the news coverage of what happened with the bird flu on the train and
Yeah.
realizes that that's where Maya was.
Yeah.
And she actually blows off a boy. She blows off Ryan to go and check in on Maya. And as we know, that there's something going on in the shower when Andy does go to check on Maya. But to Andy's credit, she does go check on Maya and goes and picks up food and stuff. Maya feels guilty about what was going on in the shower and for sleeping with Jack. And she does want to tell Andy. And to her credit, at the end of episode 11, she does try to come clean. But as per usual, she can't get a word in edgeways, because they're walking to that club. They're going for a night out and they're walking to the club.
Yeah.
And she's trying really hard to tell Andy about her and Jack, but Andy's just going on about the letter that she found that she wrote as a child to future Andy. And she's going on about how Ryan's the love of her life and stuff,
Yeah.
isn't she? And so Maya can't actually find space to tell her. And then, of course, they bump into Ryan, who's on a date with that Jenna girl, or whatever her name is. And so Maya can't come clean because Andy won't let her speak.
Classic Andy.
Yeah. And then, I mean, whether or not it should have taken a further 3 episodes for Maya to attempt to come clean again is up for debate. But in episode 14, the decision has been made mutually between Jack and Maya. Andy needs to be told immediately. But as always seems to happen in TV land, Andy walks in on them like literally 3 seconds after they've said, let's tell Andy. And so Maya doesn't get the opportunity to do it the right way. But Andy says that she doesn't have feelings for Jack anymore, and she's not even mad at the fact that Maya and Jack have got a thing. She's mad that they've humiliated her. That's her issue with it. And then things go really quiet between Maya and Andy for a couple of episodes. And then they seem to just magically resolve the situation with Maya seeing Jack. There doesn't appear to be any kind of, there's certainly no confrontation. There doesn't really appear to be much conversation. It's all just very unspectacular, isn't it? And Andy just magically seems to suddenly be fine with it. And even says to Maya that she should have Jack over for a sleepover at the apartment that they share.
Right.
So, I mean, season 2 was a bit of a weird one for them, I think. Was there anything in season 2 that you wanted to pull out?
No, I kind of felt it was all over the place, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like they weren't quite sure what they wanted to do with the friendship.
Yes. Yeah, it was completely different from their season 1 arc.
Yeah, it's like I felt like the writers just weren't quite sure what they wanted to do with it, and so it's like they were making it up as they went almost, it seemed.
Yes, yeah, yeah. But I feel like Maya kind of evolved a bit in season 2 and started centering
Yeah.
herself more.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, I feel like some of the exchanges that they had, particularly in episode 2 with the sewer incident, and I mean, Andy literally jumped into Maya's shoes, jumped into Maya's place, because she literally jumped into the sewer in place of Maya. But I feel like maybe that was like a real eye opener for Maya, and she realised that Andy should be happy for her the way that she had been for Andy, and that she'd earned her chance to shine. And maybe she realised that she shouldn't be holding herself back just to please Andy.
Yeah, so it's kind of like she got a backbone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just realize that there's two of them in the relationship and that it can't
Right.
all just be one-way traffic, because I feel like that's how it was in season 1, was just completely one-way traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that Andy has kind of come round to Maya being promoted a bit by the end of season 2? Because it kind of started quite badly, I think, with the boy in the drain and the hoarder calls, but then offering to switch places with Maya so that Ripley can see how impressive she is, and then standing up for her when Sullivan was being awful. Do you think that's kind of Andy's way of showing that she'd gotten over it and she's okay with Maya promoting up? Or
Yeah, but it was probably also selfish. Like maybe she was over because she saw that Sullivan was going to be captain and that wasn't a chance for her anymore. And so she
oh
was
yeah, true, yeah,
kind of over trying to impress him because that wasn't going well. So why not finally support your friend?
yeah, because she had nothing to gain anymore.
Right.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's sounds on brand. And I also thought it was a really interesting choice of word when she found out about Jack and Maya's relationship. She didn't say, I'm really hurt by this, I'm really upset, I'm really disappointed. It was, I feel humiliated.
Yeah, that was interesting to me too, the choice of humiliation.
Yeah. And again, it seemed like a very self-centered approach, and it's about how the two of them have made her look in the eyes of other people rather than about her own personal feelings. So there was no hurt or disappointment about the situation. It was just that you've made me look like an idiot to other people. That was how I read it.
Right. I agree.
And there was no questions about how Maya felt, if she was happy. You know, do you think that this is serious? Is this going places? Like, there didn't seem to be any interest in their relationship and in how Maya felt about the relationship. She just seemed to be worried about how their relationship made her feel.
Made her look, yeah.
Yeah, or look even. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about Maya and Jack.
I feel like Maya and Jack could be a whole nother episode.
Do you feel that Maya did Andy wrong by going out with Jack? Do you think that Andy should have negative feelings about it?
You know, I know that here in America they say that like you don't double dip, like you don't date your friends exes or whatever.
Can I
But
tell you that is very much a straight person thing?
I don't feel like Andy ever really had that strong of feelings for Jack. I feel
No.
like he was just a fling to her. And so I don't think Maya was wrong for doing what she was doing. Now, should she have told Andy? Probably, because Jack did care for Andy deeply and was wanted to marry her. So because there was a proposal, they probably should have told her. But should Maya feel bad about it? I don't really think so, no.
No, I'm in agreement. And I don't understand the not going out. Maybe it's because I am obviously quite gay. And there's a bit of a joke within our community that everyone has dated everybody else. In the L Word, there was even a chart. There was a character called Alice in the L Word who had a literal chart, like a giant whiteboard on her wall with the names of her and all of her friends on it. And then the names of all the girls they'd hooked up with lines connecting the names.
Okay.
And it's just a thing. I mean, I've always kept those things quite separate. I've never dated anyone in my friend group, probably because most of my friends are straight. So I've always dated outside of my friend group, but pretty much all of my friends who are or who have been like active in the community have all dated each other. Like everyone's dated each other.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem with that.
Right.
But I genuinely don't understand where the problem lies. If you don't want that person anymore, why wouldn't
Why does
you
it
want someone
matter?
else to go out with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I can understand that.
yeah. So I'm with you. But I loved that Maya stepped out from Andy's shadow and centered herself more in this season, and that she kind of called Andy out on her behavior from the very start. She literally started in episode 2 in the drain incident saying to Andy, no more. And just kind of stayed consistent with that.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about season 2?
Nope.
Season 3? Shall we crack on?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yep.
Join us next week for part 2 of the special Spotlight On series where we focus on Andy and Maya.